I've spent the last couple of days researching the Board of Peace, the board that is going to be responsible for rebuilding Gaza, essentially. And y'all, this is insane. It really is. And I'm going to show the charter. I'll go line by line through the charter. But for those of you that don't want to stay and go line by line through the charter, I'm going to give the highlights first. Essentially, Donald Trump will serve as the commissioner of the Board of Peace, regardless of who is the president of the United States. Donald Trump will determine how long he serves as commissioner. Donald Trump will determine how long the Board of Peace continues. Donald Trump will determine his successor. Donald Trump will set the executive board, and the executive board will be responsible for overseeing spending. Now, the member nations will be responsible for donating the money, but he has pledged $10 billion from the United States already, which is not legally his to do. Congress is in charge of spending, right? But somehow he has already pledged $10 billion, where every other nation only has to pay $1 billion to join. So Donald Trump is the commissioner. Donald Trump sets the executive board. Donald Trump determines how long the Board of Peace continues. The executive board has no oversight, but the executive board determines how the money is spent. Seems shady to you? Because it seems shady to me. And now I'll go line by line through the charter. Okay, so starting with mission and purpose, it's an international organization that seeks to promote stability, restore dependable and lawful governance, and secure enduring peace in areas affected or threatened by conflict. Article 2, member states. Membership in the Board of Peace is limited to states invited to participate by the chairman, Donald Trump. Each member state shall be represented on the Board of Peace by its head of state or government. So when we get a new president here in the United States, our new president will be a representative, while Donald Trump will remain the commissioner. Each member state shall serve a term of no more than 3 years from this charter's entry into force, subject to renewal by the chairman. Donald Trump determines if you get to renew your membership after your 3-year term. Any member state may withdraw from the Board of Peace with immediate effect by providing written notice to the chairman. So you can withdraw at any time. Okay, so this is where it gets interesting. Article 3, Section 3, succession and replacement. The chairman shall at all times designate a successor for the role of chairman. So no matter who gets elected president, Donald Trump will determine his successor. So say Kamala Harris runs again and she becomes president. She doesn't become chairman of the Board of Peace. Donald Trump will stay chairman of the Board of Peace. And if it's not Donald Trump who stays chairman, he will determine who becomes chairman. So his son, maybe, for instance, he can say, okay, now my son's going to be the chairman of the Board of Peace. Okay, so getting into Article 4 here. The executive board. Executive board shall be selected by the chairman. Donald Trump selects the executive board. And what does the executive board do? Well, the executive board shall determine its own rules of procedure. It's crazy. It exercises powers necessary and appropriate to implement the Board of Peace's mission consistent with this charter. I mean, that's gray area. It determines spending. It determines the spending. Funding for the expenses for the Board of Peace shall be through voluntary funding from member states, other states, organizations, or other sources. Board of Peace may authorize the establishment of accounts as necessary to carry out its mission. The executive board shall authorize the institution of controls and oversight mechanisms with respect to budgets, financial accounts, and disbursements. The executive board is the oversight on spending. So Donald Trump determines the executive board, and the executive board handles accounting. Skipping ahead to Article 10, conditions for dissolution. So how does this all end, right? Board of Peace shall dissolve at such time as the chairman considers necessary, as Donald Trump sees fit. My goodness. or at the end of every odd-numbered calendar year, unless renewed by the chairman. So if Donald Trump wants it to continue, it continues. This is crazy. Oh, and going back, just in case it wasn't clear, it does clearly state that Donald Trump shall serve as chairman of the Board of Peace. And he shall also serve as representative of the United States of America, in case that wasn't clear. Oh, and the official language of the Board of Peace shall be English. And the countries that are going to be joining the Board of Peace, along with the United States, are Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the UAE, Bahrain, Jordan, Egypt, Turkey, Israel, Albania, Argentina, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Belarus, Bulgaria, El Salvador, Hungary, Indonesia, Kazakhstan, Kosovo, Mongolia, Morocco, Pakistan, Paraguay, and Vietnam. Russia and China were invited to join and said no. This sends up red flags for me all over the place. It just does. And again, so we've got Donald Trump pledging $10 billion to the Board of Peace, where he essentially has ultimate control for as long as he wants. Crazy.